Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex here with another severe weather outlook and discussion here. For today, we're going to be taking a look at our upcoming severe weather / tornado outbreak and our upcoming blizzard that will be occurring. So we're going to start with part 1 of today's video on our severe weather. We currently have a slight risk, or a 15% risk, for severe weather here across a very large area of, say, into eastern Iowa here, most to Illinois, most to Missouri, portions of western Kentucky, western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Louisiana, all of Arkansas, and going into eastern Texas. And then a 30% risk here, an enhanced risk for severe weather, a little bit far out here. This is going to be for Friday, and it's going to be for most of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, southern Missouri, and southern Illinois, and western Kentucky as well, where we could be seeing a very significant round or outbreak of severe weather. We're also not going to forget about Saturday either, where we have roughly a similar deal, a nice enhanced risk down here. Look at this across portions of Mississippi and Alabama, where, again, significant severe weather is possible, and you can see how far north this slight risk goes, including, like I said, Kentucky and Tennessee. We're just going to have to see where our northern extent ends up, because I think everywhere north of this line is going to be very uncertain, just with kind of how far north our moisture is able to travel, but definitely a potential even all the way up here. We're going to start with our GFS model here, and this is going to be your 500 millibar wind. So you're going to end up seeing a couple of features here. Here is your first trough, kind of digging on through. This is going to be on Wednesday. A little bit of a neutral tilt, so this is going to suck up some storm energy, to start with here. As this treks across the southeast, you can see a pretty strong trough system, I'll say. Here is your main one out here, though. We've seen this a couple of days ago. Look at this for Friday. Nice negatively tilted trough here. Not as negatively tilted as it was, but at that point doesn't really matter. It's all the same song and dance. Just take a look at this powerful jet streak ripping on through, and then going into Saturday, same thing there. And let's take a look at our temperatures here, kind of see, is the temperatures going to make sense for severe weather, because most of the time it does. We're going to see a big warm up here across most of the country, and going into Friday, temperatures in the mid to upper 70s here, it appears, even into your low 80s further south. And with kind of your lower dew points, the temperature dew point spread is going to be a major issue for almost the entire risk area. But you could see just these nice winds moving through out of the southeast in your northern sector, and then going into Saturday as well. Not really much happening until the overnight hours, where you get a push, nice little low pressure system moving on through. Could end up with some pretty strong, possibly damaging winds along the Appalachian Mountains overnight on Saturday, going into Sunday morning. The European model will have more on that towards the end of the video. Here's your dew points. So you can see here, system numero uno moves in and sucks up some of your energy, some of your 60-degree dews here. Moving decently far north, I'd say, then gets swept on across, and you do have mid-dew points, not really anything too special. And going into Friday, where on earth did it go? Where is it? It's down here. So the GFS model right now is a bit of an outlier. Our Europeans going to have it a lot further north, which you'll see still in the low to mid 50s up here, but it's going to be a bit of a problem, right? Saturday, not an issue at all. You're going to have mid to upper 60s dew points down there across your entire risk area. And moving into your storm energy, same exact thing. Got pretty significant push there on Wednesday and Thursday. That scoots on through, and that really prohibits your warm air advection on Friday. It only gets up to here. This up here is probably not going to happen. It's definitely way overdone. I still think about 500 to 1,000 joules per kilogram of storm energy would be expected, but Nothing like 2,000 down here or whatever. This is still way overdone. I do expect, 1,500 values to at least lift all the way up here. That would not be a shock at all. So we'll just have to wait and see what these models end up doing later on. Saturday, though, very wide open warm sector, almost pushing 3,000 cape down here. Man, yeah, that would definitely be supportive of significant severe weather. And then up to 1,500. This up here is overdone for sure, but still severe weather possible that far north as we go into that. And then going into Sunday, remnant stuff could occur as well. Now for your jet stream here going into your low level winds, you could see, well, it's not going to be an issue on Friday's event. My gosh, talking about 60 to 70 knot lower level flow going into especially Friday night. That is when your jet's going to pick up and your tornadic activity will rapidly increase. Going into Saturday here, not much to talk about until the overnight hours. We get a fairly strong low that develops here and a lot of flow ahead of it as well. That will aid in substantial moisture transport on through and will aid for some tornadic thunderstorm development. Look at this. If we have enough storm energy up here, could be talking about a strong tornado risk. But it's a little bit uncertain as of now. Here's your helicity values here, and for Friday's event, you could see definitely quite elevated. We're talking about 300 to 400 meters squared per second squared. Anywhere in the reds is suitable for strong tornado activity. So certainly going to be talking about a risk for a pretty large area. No doubt about that. And then we continue through and it's just super elevated. Going into Saturday, it's not going to be until your overnight hours where I think you're going to explode. Look at that, some of your gray colors in there, indicative of your strong tornado risk. Your supercell composite values here, well, we're going to be taking a look at these here and going into Friday, definitely a bit elevated in your yellows and oranges, but overall a notable downtrend from about 2 days ago when we looked at this last. So again, I think it's underdoing moisture still. Yeah, it's pretty certain. And then as we go into Saturday, this up here is probably not going to happen, but this down here is what we need to watch. Some of your elevated parameters, right? Some of your reds, and there are even some hot pinks I saw briefly. So, again, there's still a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of model disagreement still going for Saturday, but definitely an intense parameter space will be available for these storms if they wish to use them. And onto our European model for your trough ejection here. Man, it's huge, isn't it? It's a massive trough. I mean, no doubt. You could just see it here. Your curvature, this is very negatively tilted and will be supportive of all hazards, severe weather. And going into Saturday, same exact thing. You got just that nice expansive jet streak out there. And that is all you gotta say there. Going on with your temperature forecast, just to see your suitable severe weather environment here. This is going more aggressive, pushing 80 in a couple of areas here. Again, this is your temperature dew point spread, which will be a major issue for your northern mode as your temperatures warm up a lot up here. 70 degrees, maybe pushing 75 in isolated areas. Dew points not even hitting 60. So you probably aren't going to have many tornadoes up there for that reason. And then pushing this into Saturday here, yeah, relatively same scenario here. You got a lot of wind. Yeah, a lot of wind is a bit of an understatement. This particular model run wanted to print out a near-historic mountain wave windstorm for portions of East Tennessee. If you live in East Tennessee, I know a lot of you do, please put it on the front of your mind. You could be dealing with a mountain wave wind event going into Saturday night and Sunday morning. There's a lot of uncertainty, but with recent model trends, it looks a little more likely than it did before. Dew points here, you could see them rising up. Your previous system not as strong, so not as much getting sucked out and up out of there, but look at that. For sure, got your 60-degree dew points up into Arkansas. Not really far north. I'm just going to have to say that. So definitely a lot limited on your dew point department. And up here, it's not going to be that suitable, to be completely honest. We'll just have to wait and see what these models do, if they uptrend or downtrend further, right? Then going into Saturday, no issues. Your storms, there's probably going to be too many storms in that environment, to be completely honest. Convective available potential energy goes as follows. A lot in your first system. We got to watch that. And then going into, Friday's event here, look at that. 2,000 to 3,000 across your southern mode. That's very substantial. And again, I think that is going to be a hot zone. And then moving into Saturday, slightly more agreement. I will say there is no storm energy over here. So there's a lot of shear, but no storm energy. Peculiar, right? And you can see it never lifts out of the Gulf. So very limited for Saturday on the European model. Lower level flow, I gotta speed through this. We were talking too much about this. Friday's event, it's suitable. You're gonna have it. That's all I need to say there. And then Saturday, well, actually Friday night, really ramps up 60 to 70 knots in your low levels there. And going into Saturday, definitely going to be suitable for the evening hours. Could see strong tornadoes out of that. We'll have to wait and see for that risk. Going into Saturday night, boom. Definitely a very strong lower level jet. Look at some isolated areas here, nearly pushing 100 knots into East Tennessee. Really gotta watch that wind risk. I am telling you what. And then that scoots on out. Wow, wouldn't you believe it? That was only part 1 of 3 of today's video. Part 2 is going to consist of our major blizzard risk up here going on across the northern plains and portions of the upper Midwest. Let's take a look at your European model first here for your storm system. Your major, almost bomb cyclone, maybe not as strong now. You could see, like I said, your severe weather really popping off, moving off to your northeast. But then, behind it here, you got enough cold air wrapping around that we have in central Minnesota quite a blizzard going on. A lot of strong winds with your pressure gradient winds here. Your, ISO lines really tightly packed in there, right? So that is where we are expecting your potentially major blizzard risk, to be honest, that could form there. GFS model, same exact thing. Take a look at that. Just your winds screaming out of your north to northwest. It'll feel windy even indoors with how much it's going to be blowing out there, and you could just see that very tight low pressure center there. 977 millibars. Very dynamic system. Even some blizzard conditions even going into northern Wisconsin as well, where you have those strong to possibly damaging winds and then your snow as well. And again, this could change, so don't take this completely seriously, but that is what I am noting here. How about your snowfall accumulations? Let's look at your European model here, and you could see generally for a stripe of central Minnesota, look at that, cutting the state in half there, it almost looks like. We're talking about in between 2 to 5 inches of snow, maybe even closer to 6 in northern Minnesota. We'll have to wait and see. That is your key takeaways there with that. Your EPS, your European ensemble here, showing between generally 1 and 3 inches. This may be slightly underdone, but only time will tell, right? Yeah, 1 to 2 inches across South Dakota, North Dakota. You all don't care because 2 inches is literally a single flake for you all. It's nothing. Now, Alex, you've been talking about our blizzard conditions. Well, where's the proof? Well, your wind gust map, look at this, between 50 to almost 55 mile an hour gusts here across portions of western South Dakota. This continues moving through, and let's look at your main kind of blizzard risk here. Look at that, between 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts across western and central Minnesota. Top that with your moderate to heavy snow. Then you've got 0 mile visibility, major travel disruptions. Stay off the roads, please. People are not going to really drive in this too well. And then you will see some pretty intense snow drifts as well. I think there's a product for that we could look at in a few days, and that moves on out as well. Anyways, now we're going to take a look at your fire weather concerns, because there are going to be quite a lot of those, going across here portions of Texas and Oklahoma. We're going to get into that here right now. So as you can see, for our fire weather risk, not today, but tomorrow, we have a very intense supercellular thunderstorm. Lots of inflow going in here. Probably a tornado. No. This is just the shape of the risk here. We're not going to see a tornado, okay? We're not, maybe a fire-nado if you get a big enough fire, which I pray does not happen, but you can see here a critical fire weather risk going into portions of New Mexico. This would definitely continue into Mexico itself down here. And then you could even see up here your elevated fire risk. But really, this is your 2 out of 3 on your fire weather risk scale here. And it is certainly going to be something we need to monitor. So please be careful when burning things. You don't want anything getting too out of control. There's a lot more for where that came from, though. Let's look at your Storm Prediction Center. Well, this is going to be your fire weather risk, days 3 to 8, and they don't actually have this available on WeatherWise, so the graphics are a little more retro, which is a good and a bad thing. You can see another critical fire weather risk across these areas here going into day 3, so this would actually be going into Wednesday, going into Thursday, Friday. Okay, now I want you all to look at how large this risk area is here. This is going to be a very significant fire weather outbreak day. All right, and I do expect an extreme risk to probably be issued somewhere in this area here. If you have to do any burning, I'd actually recommend against it if you possibly can. Don't be careless. Don't go throwing cigarette butts around because they will catch fire immediately on anything else and they will spread rapidly with your absolutely absurd wind gust forecast, which we'll look at in just a minute. Yeah, take a look at this here. Your future wind gusts is going to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We are talking about major wind gusts upwards of 60 to almost 70 miles an hour across these areas. This is shown in knots, so you would have to add about 10 to this. This is going to be a very dangerous firestorm likely across these areas. So again, do not burn anything if you possibly can. And if you see a fire, out to your west or southwest or wherever, you need to get out of there immediately because it will be on top of you in a matter of minutes. This is a very significant fire weather risk here that we have not seen in a very long time, so please take this seriously. Continuing on here, throughout Friday night here, winds quickly die off, but for the time that they're strong, you need to be very cautious. And especially with this windstorm, you'll probably be seeing a lot down trees, power lines, sparks flying everywhere from those power lines, transformers exploding. It is going to be an all-out battle zone out there, so I really pray for your all's safety because it could be very significant. Continuing on with our wind gusts here, we're going to move on across the Corn Belt regions, the Midwest, Ohio Valley here. We could see Friday is going to be a very windy day, gusts between 40 to 50 miles an hour, especially overnight. Your severe weather will probably have gusts up to 70. That's a bit of a separate topic, but you could see pushing on through here, gusts, look at here along this line up to 60 miles an hour. I think just behind your front, it appears, going into Chicago. Going to be a very windy one. Look at Saturday. We're likely going to see a widespread issuance of high wind warnings across these areas here. As the Chicagoland area, surrounding areas to that as well, could see gusts up to excess of 50 to 60 miles an hour. That is going to be a significant concern for, again, down trees and power lines, but your fire weather risk won't be nearly as high. Across your mid-Atlantic regions, please ignore this area down here. We'll get to you all in just a minute. But you could see here, your winds not really getting too far out there, but 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts across Pennsylvania, New York State, and really across DC, windy as well. I know you saw that down in East Tennessee, and you're probably screaming right now. Well, let me take a look at Saturday here. And look at this Saturday night. An extremely powerful low pressure system forms up here, and you get a ton of southeasterly flow ahead of it. And this is just one model, okay? GFS shows nothing like this. The European, though, boy, the European, widespread 50 to 70 plus mile an hour wind gusts across the mountains, the foothills, and the valley. We have really got to watch this could be another high-end mountain wave wind event. Even Prince gusts over 90 miles an hour in those mountains. So please be mindful of the situation. This moves out fast, so a short duration event would be in the cards for Saturday. Oh gosh, with that being said, that was a lot of info. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, and be sure to share this with your friends, family, and social media so they know about everything. And don't forget to leave a comment section below if you want. You don't have to, but I'd appreciate the feedback. I'll see you all either tomorrow night or Wednesday night, and have a wonderful night, everyone. Be sure to stay extremely weather aware and keep your eyes on the severe weather and the winter weather as we move over the next few days. It is going to be a doozy out there.